Looks like a friend may join us.
Cool.
At least listen.
So that you stay updated to all of our broadcasts and future upcoming broadcasts as well. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our open discussion. Tonight I'm joined by Chris. You can go ahead and introduce yourself while I fix my mic and stuff.
Hey everybody, this is Chris Smith. I'm a bit of an eclectic guy. I do a little bit of everything. Mostly in the chaos magic side of things. But I discovered Drew and KOTR just about a week ago. And since then, it's been pretty amazing. I've listened to a couple of his videos. He's been on the live chat a couple of times. It's interesting. And I really look forward to getting to know a few people, talk about some things. Maybe give a little bit more of my own personal story come out. I'll give a brief introduction. Not much of it was really relevant here. Web developer, used to be a carpenter, all that stuff. Work life, that's that. As far as the eclectic stuff, like I was telling him earlier, my entry into it was, of all things, quantum physics. I've studied physics since I was a kid. And once I started to realize the implications of quantum physics, my mind kind of opened up from there. And the rest is history and would take probably the rest of the night to explain. So I'll just let what comes up come up. And hey, Ren, I see you're in the chat. So if you want to say something about yourself, that'd be cool. If not, that's cool too. And I'll go ahead and hand it over to Drew now.
Like I said, it's an open discussion. Anything's on the table and everything. Like me and Chris was discussing earlier, we both checked out that webinar that the Golden Dawn did. It brought out some interesting points. A few things that I wanted to actually put out there to a different audience that I don't normally get to talk to, so it was kind of fun. But I wish more people would do stuff like this. Because I think it opens the door for better learning, and it stops the division that's amongst us. I've been hammering that point kind of hard this week. Hammering that point, the psychological warfare, spiritual warfare, magical warfare, just basically a psyop that's been going on for centuries, that we're just now seeing more and more of it. It's been pretty much what this whole week's topics have been on, in one form or another, that I found a way to manipulate into it. Just like today, I mean, I've had all kinds of things just go through my head. It's just like, on just all the topics that I've done this week. Because I sat back, rewatched some of the videos that I did. It's like, man, I can't believe I missed that. Then, especially now that I'm remembering to actually show my chat. Because like I said, I do a lot off XSplit too. It's just, it kills my computer, so it's hard to do a real good quality stream from it. And I think I'm going to reshare some of the, share this link to see if we can't get some more people in.
Oh yeah, maybe I should do that myself. I have a quick question since I haven't used Hangouts very much.
Yep.
I notice I have a group chat on the right for me.
Yeah.
I see that's not showing up on the live chat. Is
No,
that
it will
still
not.
just a delay?
For us.
Okay, okay.
We're the only ones who will be able to see that one. That's why I kind of put, I'm sharing screens and so I can actually see the main chat. That's the one nice thing about XSplit. I've got the plugins and stuff where I can just have the chat scroll by itself and I don't have to worry about it. And don't have to actually have to be sharing the YouTube screen.
Okay, so I'd have to pull it up separately then to participate in that chat as well?
Yeah, you'd have to open up the YouTube channel.
No problem. Speaking of software, that webinar jam looks pretty useful. I kind of like that.
Yeah. See, I was wondering if he was actually having, well, I've seen where he was broadcasting from Google Hangouts. So apparently they used the Google Hangouts as part of it. But I also noticed at some point it looked like it was being streamed from YouTube. So I wonder, it's kind of like a program like XSplit where you just take the key, the code key for the codex key and install it into the Webmineer, and you can actually just stream from YouTube. That way you can use the actual Google Hangouts, which might be cool because I loved how that was set up.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, Webinar Jam is based on Hangouts.
Ah.
I looked into the tech once a while back. Somebody asked me to help them set something up. It never came through. It was a small job that never came through, but I had to look into it, and it looked really interesting. It seemed to be pretty high quality, and a lot cheaper than like GoToWebinar.
Yeah. I played around on there for a little bit. But, you know, it's just like some of the things I was thinking about today was just, you know, it's like triggering. You know, we're seeing all this protest and stuff going on all over the place. And even protests, we start hearing the chanting, people chanting and stuff. Well, that's a form of magic in a sense too.
Oh, for sure.
When you're chanting, you're using that vibration and frequency to trigger somebody, trigger their emotions, energies. You know, it also, once you start getting that pattern going, you can slip in hypnotic suggestions. You know, just like using a megaphone to change the frequency and the voice. It's kind of like the Wiccans, how they do their sing-song, spell casting.
Exactly. And also the callbacks when one says it and then another one says it, like the Occupy style.
Right. Well,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Also, a point they made in the webinar earlier was the emotion. They get such a high level of emotion going with it.
Mm-hmm. God, these dogs ain't gonna shut up like copies. Friday night, that's why I didn't start my broadcast at 6:30, because come to find out it was a relative. They wrecked their car into our tree, one of our trees in the front yard. Well, finally, the Kunkel Fire Department, one of the volunteers was driving by and seen it finally stopped around 5, 6 o'clock. Well, he's like, I got to report it. They were supposed to get the car up out of here today, but when they realized how bad the rear end got tore up with this wheel being pushed into the back seat pretty much, that they're going to have to actually get a tow truck. So now we got a statey out front, probably a sheriff now. So,
Wow.
so don't mind the dogs. They're not going to shut up till they go away. But yeah, like you were saying, it's interesting because in a sense what they're doing is by doing all that chanting, they're triggering them, and they're kind of putting them in a state of trance. Well, people that aren't aware of what's happening, they'll get lulled into that trance. Therefore, like you said, you can trigger their emotions. You can put suggestions, hypnotic suggestions. Basically, it becomes a form of possession. And I guarantee you, I mean, some of the real organizers behind it, they know this stuff.
Definitely.
And that's what they're using. It's easy to brainwash and mind control somebody that way.
Just one second. I got to cut my mic.
All right. And I think, for me, I also see the drawbacks. We're always the ones getting blamed for this. Like, we're the ones behind it. When, like I pointed out yesterday or last night, how, it's our tools, yes, but we're not they're using it, then blaming us for it. I mean, it's like you go throughout medical history, psychiatry, stuff in psychiatry, you find that our use is how we created those tools, but we never, in a sense, really used them for the purposes that we're using them for now. And it's given us a bad name.
Well, it's something I ran across quite a while ago. It's interesting how it works. As I started to get into some of the really high energy marketing, and I quit studying that. I don't like it, and something felt very familiar, and I didn't even know the person that I was listening to. The videos I was watching were not to knock them. I'm not going to take a stand on this one way or the other, but the Scientologists.
Yes.
What they've done is taken an aspect of thelema, which comes from elsewhere as well, a power aspect. They kind of flip and invert the higher self a little bit, and instead of getting in touch with the higher self, they just kind of pervert it in a way I haven't quite understood yet. But I would consider that, how do I put it? Let me back up. A person kind of has to get in touch with their higher self, or their whatever a person's concept of a true will is. From there, they can set out, and they're going to cause some change, but it's not going to be quite so self-serving. And it has limits, and I understand why people prefer to take the more forceful route. But I've noticed a lot of negative consequences from it. And one of them is what we're seeing with all kinds of different group movements of different types, where they essentially, like you were saying, they just manipulate people. Just to cut it a lot shorter, they just use it to manipulate. And without that extra part to balance it, I don't think they even get what they want in the end.
Yeah, I agree with you there, 100%. It's actually a real nasty form of mind control. I mean, to the point when somebody finally does get out, they're so psychologically racked. It's hard. It's a shell shock. Basically, they have a form of post-traumatic stress syndrome because it takes time to realize what all happened, but they still get that programming in them. It's a very twisted form. And yeah, I've studied a little bit of it. Just it's like you said, it gives you that weird feeling. It's like something's not right about it.
Exactly.
And I know a lot of people. With certain studies in the cult, you'll see the guy that actually created Scientology. You'll see him do lectures on the occult.
Yeah.
So there is, like you said, there's a Phoenix base.
We got it from Jack Parsons, I believe.
Parsons, yeah. You know, it's just like, but in a sense, we're all programmed in a way too. And just not dealing on these subjects. We get programmed from early stage of childhood. Like, don't ask me why this even came into my head thinking about this, because I just basically using a form of automatic writing, just taking notes, let my hand write whatever it wrote all day today. Well, the emergency broadcast system. Every time we hear that noise, it triggers a part of our mind to say, oh, something's wrong. Until, they say, oh, this is just a test. But it's an instant, it snaps us to attention. Same way when we hear the air sirens, which has been used throughout history, as long as they've existed, either for, you heard them in World War I and World War II, they were dropping bombs on you. Or now when we hear them, there's a tornado coming or some event. It's another form of programming. A similar thing happened here in Britain. Exactly. I got that in my notes too, because we were starting to see it more and more. And we're just actually here in the United States. We're just now seeing this type of protest and this type of actions going on, but it's been happening all around the world. It started from pretty much everybody's attention to it was on the Brexit,
right?
With the EU stuff. That's where it got popped, and that's how they started programming people here in the United States. Truthfully, because every news network started showing this like it was okay.
I didn't know that, but they didn't have a plan. Thank you.
No. I mean, they had no plan, didn't have nothing.
It had to come as a shock.
Yeah, it does. A lot of the stuff, as people start talking, sharing their ideas, people start waking up, start seeing the real truth. It's not about so much, yes, I follow the occult. The occult is the unknown. Yes, I practice a form of ritual magic, but I practice a bunch of stuff. I've come to learn the real truth, and I got a few good comments in the webinar earlier today. People was like, "Yeah, you're right." It's like simple. We just like prayer. They mentioned prayer, and they missed where they could have hammered the point home right then and there. What is prayer? Prayer is nothing but a form of magical silence. It's using magic when we pray.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how, as I put it, that's how they use dogmas to control the masses. They don't want to tell them, in a sense, by you praying, you're actually doing the highest art of spellcasting and ritual magic, or any type of magic, by vibrating from your, taking the energies from your mind, taking that thought and causing it to create. You're sending it out through the universe. It's all prayer is.
Yeah, it's really powerful. It's like you said, it's one of the most powerful, and properly directed. Or I shouldn't say properly. Who the hell am I to judge what's proper and what's not? Directed certain ways, it can be very powerful for the person and even for the whole. Directed other ways, it just, in my opinion, personally, I think they're actually feeding entities of some sort. I don't know if they're meta entities that only exist in the collective mind or actual metaphysical entities, but they certainly are pumping something full of energy.
Yeah, and exactly. And it goes back to how these protesters they don't realize they're actually opening themselves up to a spiritual form of possession, a physical form of possession, and a material form of possession. We do material possession all the time, and we don't realize it. We get attached to stuff. We form bonds with an inanimate object that has should have no purpose or meaning, but we give it. And as I put it, all you need is that object. And then you have the greatest link and focus aspect to that person.
Yes. I agree.
I mean, that's Magic Warfare 101.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's not warfare. It's just part of the basic structures of magic. Because you're reducing you're taking what would be 20% success by having that object. It's now not 100, but it's like 98 or 90% chance of success. Basically, you found their weakness. Now you're going to manipulate that weakness.
You got it.
Just like hearing the word trigger is a trigger.
Is that ironic or what?
Yeah, that's very ironic. I caught it too, right during that webinar. I also caught a few things they did that. It's like, oh, you're dirty. When he made it look accidentally as he chimed the glass and sending out that vibration, or how you catch her sometimes how she snap her fingers. Well, growing up, when somebody snapped their fingers in a certain way, it kind of got your attention quick. I mean, we actually use that all the time on dogs. We'll snap our fingers to get their attention.
Yep. On our kids, on our spouses or other significant others, usually resulting in a strange look, sometimes even a slap.
Yeah.
But yeah, it can work. It can work. Yeah, like you said, the word trigger has become a trigger.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it reminded me, I got onto this kick a while back with some other study in nonviolent communication.
Oh, yeah.
Amspracht. I just mutilated it because I don't speak German. But it's kind of like bureaucracy or office speak. You just change the definitions of things. You have celebrities or whoever. You get people to just change the meanings and use them repetitively in the way that you want, and the original meanings disappear. People quit using it. And they don't understand, though, that the subconscious mind retains the original meaning, and you can play games with that. You can get a person to tell themselves things in their subconscious that are absolutely opposite of what they think in the conscious mind.
See, I'm glad you said that, because one of my earlier broadcasts I did earlier this week, I touched on that, but I couldn't elaborate the way you just did it. That's the perfect example of it. It's like here in the United States, Congress passed a law back in 2000? Well, no, back after 9/11, banning assassinations. We just called it a different name. It's drone strikes. We're still targeting a person. We're still committing assassination.
Bingo. And it separates people from responsibility. It puts a distance so it's not as emotional. They don't think, oh, wow, assassination is evil. It's bad. It's unethical. But a drone strike, hey, it's just a robot. It's a video game. Do it.
Right. And that's why the big video games are so big, because it's a way to train, because it trains muscle memory, it trains the mind. I mean, it's a good tool if used properly, and it's just like watching movies is cool. Just know there's tons of triggers in every movie you watch anymore.
The zombie games.
Oh yeah.
We have a population now trained to wipe each other out.
Mm-hmm.
They don't realize the zombies are them.
Yeah.
That being said, I've enjoyed playing a few myself. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, just look at the protesters these days. They act like mindless zombies. They don't have a message.
No.
Other than what's programmed for them to say. They can't quote facts. At least the protesters in the 60s, 70s, if you asked them what they were protesting, they would quote it like it was law.
Oh, hell yeah.
And no facts. And so basically what's happening, what I see happening is they're stealing that voice and they're stealing the power from that voice from what we've seen in past. They're giving all these, like the women's rights activists and the feminist activists. When that female reporter got punched by a guy, you just killed the voice of every woman there when you protected him and shielded that guy from a cop. If that would have happened in the 80s, early 90s, the cops would have played hell getting the women off the guy.
You got it. You got it.
Even though he was supporting their cause.
But
You just killed that movement and voice.
Did you see the woman hit the reporter? She slapped him, not hard, she just, you could barely hear it, but she did smack him while the woman right next to her had some kind of an anti-assault on women poster.
Right.
And I think they're missing the root that some of us would call the divine feminine.
Mm-hmm.
They're working off of a purely intellectual concept of what feminism is, as far as I'm concerned.
You know, it's just so much going on in the world today, and it's all to me, all I see is to cause division. And like you mentioned, they're changing the meaning of words left and right. They're taking what power we had in those words and manipulating it to suit their own purpose, to where that power is gone.
Yes.
From the original meaning.
You can't even use the words intelligently anymore. There's so many connotations with them, and so many people have so many different meanings to them, that if you try to have an intelligent conversation, you may actually get somewhere with a person. But because you're speaking different languages, it's impossible.
You know, I love social media. I love the social sites and this. I love the interaction you can get going. But as I ran into yesterday, which it triggered me because it did piss me off, because I deleted one of my videos from a certain group. Honestly, I understand what they're saying, but the people are saying it's the same people that are posting it all over their pages. And then that discussion wasn't political. Well, you were there for over 4 hours with me. It wasn't really political, because it has something that can affect us. But because I used the word Trump in it, it just set everybody off. Oh, it's politics. It has something to do with the occult, this group. We need a place where we can get away from that. If you want to get away from it, turn your damn computer off. because you're just posting it, and every time I go to my main page, all I see is this.
Mm-hmm.
But yet, if I bring it to a group that's occult-based, supposedly open-minded, I'm bringing it because there's a reason. It has something to do with us. And that's where I feel all of this is just causing real information to be lost. Well, it's just like you also discuss about citizen journalists. They're the ones reporting the real news now. I mean, yeah, you got your ones that are faking it and stuff, but you got the real ones out there just bringing you real news with no commentary. Well, some of the ones I listen to have commentary.
Mm-hmm.
But they're actually, I know them. I know them personally. And what they bring to you is truth. But what I like, I hate Alex Jones. Just because of all the bashing he does. But, I mean, it sucks. You can't argue the fact he's been right more than he's been wrong. But I also know something else that many people don't know. That a certain person in his staff is part of the pagan community.
That's interesting.
A very active one. We helped support the person when because he did a contest. At that time, he did a contest for a reporter, to hire a reporter. We actually supported that person and, did the voting for that person. She got probably over 30,000, 40,000 votes just from the pagan communities off my magazine.
Nice, nice.
And I've seen a little change in him, but he still gets on the kick. Come Halloween, if there's nothing big going around, we got spared because of the election this year. He'll be right there in the forefront bashing us again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I've always had mixed emotions about Alex Jones. I watch him. I watch his stuff from time to time, but I don't know. I don't even know what to say about that guy.
It can be fear porn, and he does use psychological warfare He's probably one of the best at it right now out there because he uses the fear porn aspect of it. He uses the shock aspect of it. He uses the theater aspect of it. I mean, he produces so much energy. I don't know if he's aware of what he does on the energy side, but you can feel the energy radiating off that man.
Mm-hmm.
When he gets on certain topics, and that can be dangerous to those that can't see it because he triggers them, and he could make them question their own ideas and beliefs that they know are right, or cause division amongst communities. So there's a lot of times where he'll get on a rant. I'll just turn him off and not listen to him about 3 months. But I like some of his other reporters, so you know.
Yeah, he does have a good
It's just
team,
when he gets on that rant, you got to know when to turn it off. And it's like people with me. People, hey, if you feel energy's coming off me and it's triggering you in a certain way, tune me out, turn me off. Because it does happen. Sometimes we're not aware it's happening. But if you're going to do that, point it out. I'm not like these other people. I do listen. I do take constructive criticism. And if I see it and catch it, it's like, oh, wow, did I do it? I'll go back and watch the video. I mean, I'll see my own energies flowing off it. So then I was like, oh, yeah, I don't, either apologize or make sure I don't do it again in the future. And that's, yeah, it does. It's just natural for everyone.
Mm-hmm. I've got to be careful with mine. Occasionally I'll get rather emotional, and I've had it pointed out many times, all the way from just general psychological, the pressure of my voice and everything. It gets to the point where I know what it is. That's a very low-grade hypomania. But people get terrified, think I'm about to go full-blown manic on them. I never have. I'm not like that. It's not that far with me. Now, energy sensitives, I've had everything from there are times that it's powerful but pleasant, and there's times that I swear people want to just run to the hills. And I really work hard to moderate that.
Mm-hmm. I've actually, for me, finding a break on social media, I've actually found a couple groups on Facebook. And Empath is one of them, and Empath is the other group. It's just a bunch of empaths. Well, I'm an empath myself, so.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, wow, in a sense, it's kind of rejuvenating just to go on there. Just go where you're led when you comment. I don't really share on there. But occasionally, if I see something I'm drawn to, I'll comment and converse back and forth. Or see somebody that posted something like, I read whatever I see, and I will inform them what I see. It's kind of refreshing. But it's also refreshing to know that those guys are actually aware and awake, and you get the new ones, and they just quickly, I wish I would have had a group like that when I first learned what I was on that side. It would have made help controlling all that a whole lot better. And that part, I love that part now. I like everyone else, it's a curse. It's not. It's a blessing. But you asked me 2 years ago, this was a curse.
Oh, yeah.
You get bombarded by everything. But once I started, it took somebody to kind of show me that in her own little way. I learned to be able to, now that I'm starting to see things more clearly, reading energies more clearly, seeing the like I said, there's a pattern in everything. And eventually you can follow that pattern to its source, whoever's doing the manipulating it for what.
That, my friend, is a very powerful trick, if you can trace it back.
It's like, well, that's one of the reasons, like I said, me and my teacher, we sometimes get odds for odds, and we'll go months or a couple years without speaking to each other because, in a sense, I'm a tool to him. He keeps me around because that's one of my major gifts. And he likes it, especially when we're in new areas. He'll ask me, well, what do you feel and see about this? Because he also knows I'm pretty good at seeing stuff, too.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as it comes like seeing spirits and stuff like that, during the day, not so much, but at night, I'm real good at it, which drives him nuts because he says most people can't even see the spirits at night. It's like, that's because I don't see auras. I can't see Colors to me have no meaning. I just see energy, so I follow the energy.
For me, it's always been, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, and that mindset actually helped me because it allows me to differentiate when somebody says, well, that's white magic. There's no difference. They create that to cause division amongst us. It's your intent. So it allows me to understand those things better. It also allows me to know certain boundaries. I just looked up, I don't know the word trigger. It's a Dutch word, trekken.
That's
Meaning
interesting.
pull, and was first recorded in the 1620s. The non-variant came into use in 16. That is real good information.
Yeah, thank you.
See, a man after my own heart. Go find the root origin of the original use of the word. Because you will find, and that's why I hate when things get retranslated too many times. Because you lose the meaning when it's retranslated.
Yes. You lose
The
whole root.
Go ahead.
You lose the whole root. You lose the, I don't even know how to put it. You're probably going to put this one better than I would. Go ahead.
When you lose the whole root, you lose the actual core of it, the essence of it. You lose its intelligence and its spiritual sense. It becomes something completely different that the old word no longer has meaning. It becomes like a lost language, a lost dialect that you're only guessing at. Or if you're smart enough, you're reading the energies off it, but you're still only getting the imprint of it. You're not getting the emotion that was behind that word. Because when you start changing words, you start changing the characteristics and aspects of it as well. You're changing the energies. You're changing the emotions.
Well, part of it is a lot of people don't realize that the dictionary and the definition, essentially it describes a container, but it doesn't tell you what's in the container. Those would be the connotations, the emotional aspects of it, the history of the word. And those are some very powerful things.
Yes.
That a dictionary, it's not its purpose to do that. Its purpose is just to create that container. It's what's put in the container that really matters.
It was just like, I met a guy, he was really into the Babylonian stuff. I tell you what, there is some powerful stuff in that Babylonian stuff.
Oh, no joke.
But it's like, wow, it'll blow you wide open on certain things. But he started breaking it down. I mean, I'm not big on the alien aspects or the, to me that's, I've seen some just, okay, it's one of those, but I believe in the energy aspect of things.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows? There's a possibility. There's a possibility of anything. I'm not going to say it doesn't exist. I just haven't seen it. But I believe in, like you said, quantum physics. I believe in quantum mechanics. So there's parallel universes, string theory, and it just keeps going on and on. So I can't rule that form of existence out. Just like, real? What is God? It's an alien. Do we know? Can we see? Can we perceive? No. It's a higher form. What is an alien? It's a higher form, unknown intelligence.
There's a little bit more neutral language where I look at all of them. Angels, spirits, aliens. If they don't physically present themselves to you, I just kind of lump them all up into, I'm going to give a plug for an author and a physicist that's doing consciousness research and talks, Tom Campbell. They're just non-physical. And the true root reality is itself non-physical. It's the physical that's projected from it, much like a simulation. And in that light, all of it makes sense, and there are no contradictions.
I like that. That's actually a good way to look at it. But I'm going to throw you something else to think about on that very subject. What if it is, for those that believe in past lives, so go towards you. What if it's our ancestors? Let's say when we pass away, we become that angelic presence. until we decide to return.
Oh, that is very interesting, and that kind of reminds me of something somebody tried to teach me a long time ago. Thank you.
Because I did a discussion for the magazine on the difference between angels and demons. Studied cups, hello, OTO, Golden Dawn. So part of it is studying the keys of Solomon and all that. I mean, it has different uses than what most people think, but same aspect. The more you study, the more you open that intelligence up. I don't mean summoning it to manifest, but the more you study, you begin to learn their history. It's written throughout the book, old grimoires and stuff. They believe and state that one day they'll rejoin their fellow brothers and sisters and regain their positions that they had lost when they fell. Well, if that's the case, doesn't that just, in a sense, that just throws the idea of salvation out the window? Because they're saying that they're going to, but, there can be an argument, maybe, well, they're just lying. Well, are they? It's just like when they talked about it and they quickly got away from the subject in that webinar, the fact is, there's a reason why sometimes we use the lower aspect, because anybody's ever dealt and worked with the angels, spheres, and magics and stuff, you understand that when you go to them, you better be ready to know everything about yourself. Basically, you're being judged, in a sense, to where by the time you're done, you probably don't want to go any farther with it. So sometimes it's a lot easier instead of arguing with them, but the trick to that is how you word your words.
Yes.
You argue your case. And if you manipulation is the wrong word here, but same token, it's the way you manipulate and bring your words to them and express them. You can basically cut the middleman, not have to go through all that process. You'll find that certain demonic forces, they're just as happy to do a good deed with less effort. Yeah, you got to put a bunch of leashes and make sure they don't cause chaos all the way down the road to the deed's done. But it's quicker to get them to do it. But most people forget the one saying, we have dominion over everything, including the angels.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't be a debate or an argument. And if you don't have that mindset when dealing with them, they're just going to run you over and push you over.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, you bring up a good point on that subject, because I can see where you're coming from. That's a real interesting thought. I can see that. But then we get ahead in, like I said, well, what if it's just when we pass, that's us until we decide to come back, or we're told to come back. Because I know there's certain like Druidic traditions, they speak of it in a certain way that we eventually return, not as a lower self, but then there's all kinds of theories on that one. I just try to stay away from the reincarnation stuff because they're just too much.
Yeah,
it's hard. Well,
they're all just metaphors. They're all just metaphors.
Right.
It's the limitations of language forces us to use it.
That's why as magicians or the cultists, we're trained to get away from the verbal aspect.
Mm-hmm.
We're trained to use the mental aspect.
That's an interesting one. That's something that was very early in my history. I was 11 or 12, and I had essentially a vision. It was either a vision or a dream. I don't remember what. I found myself floating in a cave, which oddly had no entrances or exits. You had to materialize through the ground somehow to get there. But there were a number of entities around a circle in different forms. One in the center. That wasn't the important part. The important part is they were speaking to me as a collective. And there was only one verbal phrase, pure thought. And there was a feeling that went to it that told me my test at that moment was to communicate in pure thought. not even images, no words, just pure, raw, almost like a proto-thought, like pre-thought. And I failed and was ejected out. I've been recently put to that test in other ways, and I advanced, so I'm assuming that if that was my own test or their test of me, however that's supposed to work, apparently I made progress, so I'm accepting that as a passing, that I passed it. But yeah, it's like a pure thought, completely divorced of anything we'd consider verbal. And that's how I found telepathy to work. I don't attempt to communicate in words most of the time, oddly enough. And I found that's far more effective.
You don't have to. Oh yeah, because because basically when we're using that form, we're not speaking to the conscious mind. We're not even speaking to the subconscious. We're speaking right to that divine spark that's our spirits. We're connecting to each other's spirit in the purest form, which is the purest form of communication between people. And sadly enough, it takes usually people that have some kind of real strong connections for people to feel that and experience that.
Yeah.
I mean, I got lucky to experience that when I was like 16. When I was 16, and it lasted for a whole while. Then, of course, some events took place, and I kind of got away from my path, which quickly learned that was probably the biggest mistake ever, because it took a very traumatic, forceful event to put me back on it. Because I just wasn't trying to hear it or anything. Basically, I played with magic. I learned how to change mind states at a very early age, but not the precise and accurate way. So I learned how to cut all emotion. Well, after so long, you just become numb to everything. You don't really care because you don't know why you care. And eventually that's going to put you in a bad situation.
I'd say most magicians, if they reach a certain point, a lot of people bail out before they even reach that point. It's probably for the best for them. They're just not ready. I wasn't ready when I really started actively knowingly working with magic. So yeah, it seems like most people go through something similar.
Ren, that is actually one of many forms of telepathy, working with images, see images and knowing what the images mean. That's actually its simplest form. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. Sometimes that's the only way spirits can communicate with us as well, is by using a form of telepathic empathy, either through apathy, through triggering our emotions, or by images. All they're doing is manipulating the energies around us until we catch it and pay it attention.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you. I think a lot of people turn away from it because, even as an empath, I can relate on some of the telepathy part. It sucks sometimes knowing stuff about someone, because you might come across somebody you really didn't want to know.
Yes.
Because like I said, there's bad apples all over the place. And some bad apples, wow. Yeah, stay away.
After a while, I think you might be able to relate to this. After a while, you kind of learn to be grateful for it. And it has some other effects, too. It's kind of like what the internet is opening people up to. We're just starting to figure out how freaking weird we all really are. And the people we thought were normal. And since people get more bold online, they let more out. Well, the same thing if you're empathic or telepathic, you can connect to them.
Right.
And you see it, and then at first it's like, oh my God, I got to get away from this. But then you think, well, that's not so much different from what I think when I'm in that mindset. I got in there and this person, okay, I saw some imagery of them, let's say murdering somebody. Well, who hasn't had that primitive instinct pop up in their mind? We may suppress it. We may look at it and say, no, I don't want that thought. Go away. And move on to something else. But it's there, and we find out.
It's there, and once it's there, it's not going away.
No.
So our brain is basically one big recorder.
Ren just brought up a point, and this is a new word for me. I kind of like it, I think. Could pure thought be described as telepathy? I think I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yes.
Okay, not words, images, a knowing.
Yeah, it's actually it's what it is before all the real meaning. I think pretty much if we actually take it back to its root origin, we'll find that's exactly what it meant. We've just gotten away from it. But like you said, we're starting to get back to it. And now I'm going to really throw a monkey wrench and a twist into this, because I think you're right. I think you're dead on, actually. Now let's take that. They've learned how to use this tool. They've resurrected it. But since the word had originally lost all its meaning, in this sense, is this how they're controlling people now? Is this how they're imprinting these triggers and stuff into people? A form of telepathic empathy?
That makes sense, yeah. I think it could be.
Because it'd make great sense how things have just all of a sudden has gotten so. I mean, it's like I said, I don't know how many has actually tried the little scenario I gave them the other night about trying to manipulate YouTube. It can be done. You know, it's just like, well,
Google.
Let's take that.
Google's an easy one. Google is an easy one.
Mm-hmm.
I discovered it by chance. I look up so many technical things. I noticed that the ads and everything I started getting, the more I actually opened up.
That's what you've been looking up.
The more I let Google keep track of. Some things I don't, if I can help it. But I noticed I started getting very fine-tuned results that really, really started to look like something more than machine was at play.
Right. I'm beginning to I'm starting to waking up to see that more and more myself. You know, the problem is we had to get past all the trigger words or the fear porn of it, because everybody was saying, well, that's fear. It's psychological imprinting. They keep giving it technical terms when in actuality it's not. It's something we already know. But we get caught up in the terminology of the word being misquoted again or misused until we start to see it. Then once we see it, now we're seeing it everywhere. I mean, it's bad. I mean, for those, I would never own a smart TV.